सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. I welcome you all with my love and respects. Let's enter into today's sutra. I am continuing on Brahma Sutras. First chapter, first section, 17th Sutra. Beta Vyapadeshacha. Beta Vyapadeshacha. Beta Vyapadeshacha. Swami Gambhirananda translates this sutra as, and because of the assertion of the difference between the individual soul and Supreme Self. Swami Veereshwarananda translates as, on account of the declaration of difference between the two, the one referred to in the passage, the self consisting of bliss, etc., and the individual soul, the latter cannot be the one referred to in passage. Swami Shivananda translates as, on account of the declaration of the difference between the two, the one referred to in the passage, the self consisting of bliss, and the individual soul, the latter cannot be the one referred to in the passage. Beda Vyabadeshat Cha. There's a beautiful sutra in Taittiriya Upanishad. I wanted to bring it to your attention. And very beautifully, Swami Shivananda, Rishikesh Shivananda Swami. There were two Shivanandas very popular at same time. One was in Kerala, Palakkad, Paramahamsa Shivananda. Another one was the Rishikesh Shivananda Paramahamsa, Shivananda Swami. So here I am referring to Swami Shivananda from Rishikesh. Swami Shivananda from Rishikesh. He very beautifully refers. He is one of the very great Acharya of the modern days. One of the great architect of Hinduism. I can say some handful of people are responsible for what is known now as Hinduism being alive. Our yoga, Upanishads, Vedanta. If this is part of a common man's life today, in the modern world, this handful of people are responsible. One is Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, naturally, and Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, Osho, Srila Prabhupada. I will say that in my experience, I will put Swami Shivananda in that level. He is one of the great contributor to the Vedic tradition. He refers very beautifully. Actually, I am referring every day many of his collections and selections on Brahma Sutra. He has written a very beautiful commentary on Brahma Sutra. He has culled out many of the beautiful Upanishads and references from various Aranyakas, various beautiful scriptures. Very authentically he has collected and translated. I wanted to remind you all, great Swami Satyananda Saraswati, one of the greatest yogi happened in the modern days, disciple of Shivananda Saraswati. I wanted to remember both of them and give them my humble respects. Because today what I am talking to you, all this technical information For me to collect and translate will take at least 10 years. If I have to do all by myself. So lot of the technical work they all have done. So I wanted to give my gratitude and humble respects to those masters. If you read Swami Satyananda Saraswati's Yoga and Kriya book, whatever I am teaching in the morning Brahma Sutra, the Yoga Sutra, you will be able to catch it very easily. It will be very useful if you read that book. If you are regularly attending the Yoga Sutra Satsang. And same way, if you read Swami Shivananda's Brahma Sutra translation, it will really help you to grasp more whatever I am sharing in the Brahma Sutra Satsang. Because they have done an amazing work on the technical knowledge. To tell you honestly, I am not that strong in the technical knowledge. See, I am commenting on the authority of my spiritual experience, enlightenment. I am neither a Sanskrit scholar, nor English scholar, or scholar in the Upanishads or Vedas or the traditional literatures. I am telling you very honestly. Maybe if you are glamored by me, enchanted by me, you will say, no, you know so much about scriptures and all that. But an honest social standard, there is a social standard. If there is an examination about the scriptures, I can be 100% sure I will not take more than 30 marks. That's a maximum any normal teacher will give if they test my scriptural knowledge. I am commenting on the authority of my personal experience and the grace of my mentors, like Raghupada Yogi, Kuppammal, Arasaki Swami, all these people. But the technical knowledge, these masters have done an amazing job. I wanted to recognize and put this on record so that the posterity, the future knows their great contribution. I wanted to make it very clear, I never wanted at any time my organization to evolve as an independent cult built on me. It should always be rooted in the original Vedic tradition, the broad Vedic tradition, which is the source for Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Vaishnava, Tantra. These are all different branches evolved out of Vedic tradition. You may be surprised, I mentioned even Hinduism as one name. Please understand, whatever you practice in the name of Hinduism, going to temples, rituals, anything, yoga, pranayam, all these things evolved from Vedic tradition. I wanted all of you to know, it is not Vedic tradition. It is from Vedic tradition. Just like Buddhism is from Vedic tradition, Sikhism is from Vedic tradition, Jainism is from Vedic tradition. The distance between the Vedic tradition and Buddhism, distance between Vedic tradition and Jainism, distance between Vedic tradition and Sikhism, distance between Vedic tradition and modern day Hinduism is equal. I wanted to make it very clear. It is equal. No way modern day Hinduism is closer to Vedic tradition than Jainism or Buddhism. So I wanted always our Sampradaya to be the established and rooted in the broad Vedic tradition, which is the source of all these traditions, Shakta, Saiva, Vaishnava, all these great traditions. There is a beautiful reference by Swami Shivananda. रसो वैसः रसं हेवायं लब्ध्वा नान्दी भवति लब्ध्वा नन्दी भवति. Taittiriya Upanishad, 2nd chapter, 7th sutra. If you don't understand, it's okay. I'm just putting it on record. But I'll translate and give you the complete meaning in course of the discourse. See, lot of the sacred secrets embedded in the sutra, you will be able to relate and understand if you have a little bit of background of the technical knowledge, how the truth is experienced and expressed and referred. Raso vaisaha rasam hevayam labdvanandi bhavati. That which is attainted and the attainer cannot be the same. Hence, individual soul is not referred to in the passage which is under discussion. Now let me enter into the sacred secret embedded in the sutra. The whole thing, I can see, boils down to pushing you towards the transcendental awareness happening in you. Constantly Vyasa, Badarayana is getting you back to the transcendental awareness. If I have to reveal the sacred secret, if I have to reveal what I am going to talk for next half an hour, for example, you say, Swamiji, next half an hour I don't have time to sit, I have to run for the other work. Can you just tell me in one statement so that I can hear and run? I am going to say, get back to witnessing consciousness. That's all, which I am telling for last 10 years. This is the sacred secret in the sutra. Badarayana, Vyasa, is basically trying to push you to the truth. Do not be satisfied in the space where the attainer retains even a scratch of individual identity. I have a big difficulty because first time these sutras are being taught to youngsters. Always these sutras were taught to some old Buddhas who can't do anything further. Ramakrishna gives a very beautiful example. He goes to see some VIP. I thought I will not tell the name, anyhow I will tell, nothing can be done. Rabindranath Tagore's father, Devendranath Tagore. And he sees so many children running around in the house. He asks somebody, whose children all of them are? That guy, that worker should have had little courtesy. He did not have any courtesy. That worker said, all children are my boss, Devendranath Tagore children only. I think he had some 14 or I don't know them, but at least more than a dozen. So, Ramakrishna was very angry. I don't know why Ramakrishna was so fanatic about not having kids. No, he was really fanatic about not having kids. These 2-3 things, it is like a very strong thing on Ramakrishna. I can say that it is Ramakrishna's influence on me. Fanatic about not to get married and not to have kids. Once, one of the disciples, Yogananda, his disciple, close direct disciple, in his family they were planning to get him married, and that he is a young boy, and he neither said yes nor said no. He came to Ramakrishna. They are planning in my house to get me married. In West Bengal, the tradition is by the age of 12, before the boy or girl gets physical maturity, the marriage will be done. That's the way the tradition is. In those days, not now, in those days, both of them should go through the ritual of marriage before the physical maturity. When Sharada Devi was given in marriage at the age of 5, literally 5, she was 5-year baby when she got married. She doesn't even know to whom she got married. And later on she came to know one mad fellow in Dakshineswar, you are a wife of that guy. Even though Sharada Devi respected Ramakrishna, they had a very sweet life. She used to make fun of him left and right. And anyhow, this Yogananda goes to Ramakrishna and asks, they are planning to get me married. Please tell something. And Ramakrishna doesn't speak anything. He just picks him up and goes to the devotee's house. There is some dinner. He had a very nice life. Every night he will go here and there and have dinner and meet new people. Did not have an organization. So all the troubles associated with organization never happened to him. Nice. As I said, he lived like a Bole Baba. Nice guy. So he went to dinner. There he saw one girl was playing with a keychain. She was having the keychain in the hand and she was rotating the keychain and playing with that keychain. Ramakrishna suddenly shouted, "Hey Yogen, come. That's that boy's name. Later on, the sannyas name was Yogananda. The parental name was Yogen. The boy got frightened. He felt Ramakrishna had some heart attack or what is, we don't know. He's screaming in this high pitch. That boy ran and came to him and asked, "Baba, what happened? Why did you scream? Are you hurt or are you having any physical trouble?" He said, No, come. See that girl. Yogen just saw that girl was just playing with a keychain. See, you asked me whether to get married or not. You will be rolling like that only in her hand. How she is rotating the key, you see? You will be in that place. Do you want? That's it. That fellow, he reminisces this in the old age. Sorry, he did not live long time, but before his death, he is reminiscing. He says that scene was there in my inner space forever and ever. Not only I did not get married, I will never go to any marriage ceremony. When somebody calls, he will say, No. Baba showed me how I will be rotated. And Ramakrishna is a little fanatic about this marriage and kids. And this guy goes to Devendranath Tagore's house. That's what I was talking. So when he heard all these kids are one man's kids, he makes a very strong comment to Devendranath Tagore. He goes to Devendranath Tagore and says, "Do you at least now," I think all of you understand what he is trying to ask. "At least now, do you control your senses and practice meditation?" And Devendranath Tagore very politely says, "Now I completely meditate and spend all my time in meditation. All my night I meditate separately in different room." Ramakrishna understood. Even then he could not control his anger. Yes. In very village Bengali language he says, in Bengal they use neem stick and banyan stick for brushing the teeth. They'll take the stick and they'll use it. If you use it continuously for 1 month, then it will become numb and you can't use it. All that brush part will go away. And then you have to throw away that stick. And he says, yes, after using 1 month, what will you do with the neem stick and banyan stick? You have to throw it in Ganges. overused toothstick. If you know only the village background, you will understand. See, when you use the neem stick and the banyan stick for brushing, you will take it and first they will nicely smash the edge and it will become like a very soft cotton and they will use for brushing. 1 month it will come. And after the usage, that brush, that soft portion will go away. You can call it almost like a bristles, natural bristle. And after 1 month, that has to be put in the Ganges. It has to be thrown away. So Ramakrishna says, yes, completely used toothbrush, what will you do? You have to throw it away. That is the way your renunciation is. And you will not understand Brahman. He tells directly. And Devendranath Tagore is supposed to be a very rich guy, well known, and not only wealthy, named guy with a lot of name and fame. And Ramakrishna Mission is trying to edit this incident very badly because Rabindranath Tagore has become Nobel laureate. Anyhow, in their publications they edited this incident, but the original reminiscences are very clearly telling. Ramakrishna said straight away, you will not achieve Brahman and nobody can reach Brahman with your mental setup. He comes away. Then Devendranath Tagore felt very bad because he is a sincere seeker. He sent somebody to Ramakrishna saying that please tell Paramahamsa to show me some way. Then Ramakrishna says, Brahma Sutra cannot be taught to the people. Even if you teach, they will not catch it. Please understand, when I use the word here Brahma Sutra, I use the word more like the process of awakening the inner space. Unfortunately, always it was taught to the old people. So almost their tiredness is taken as non-ego state. But first time I am talking about Brahma Sutras to youngsters. That is why so much of difficulty. Lot of difficulty because the modern day youngsters have to live continuously asserting their ego. Every moment the survival itself becomes ego based. You see, that is why even creation of the wealth, it is not creation, it is more like a grabbing. How much you can lie and cheat your boss and grab, that's all. It's all about grabbing. It has nothing to do with creation. The modern day, the youngsters have to constantly be asserting their ego. But here Brahma Sutra, constantly Vyasa is pushing to be centered on awareness. Actually, if you are centered on awareness, you will be able to create wealth out of creativity and have a deep satisfaction, fulfillment. But the big problem is almost your whole life has to be reshuffled. When you start living based on this sutra, which says that be established on the space where the achiever and achieved is one and the same. Do not be in a space where the achiever and achieved are visibly felt as different, experientially felt as different. A continuous drive See, if you are a yogi, for example, tomorrow many of you guys are taking up this vrata, Samyaman Chandra, 16 days. When you take up this kind of things and explore, basically you are a yogi. Your attitude is yogi. If you are a yogi, because of your everyday practices, all these ideas are constantly reminded to you. And the raising of the awareness has become an independent mechanism in your system. Every day, because constantly you remind yourself, you push yourself, even though one day you become low and angry, depressed. Next day you are up. You say, no, I will stand, I will not fall. That re-establishing, I tell you, that is the greatest thing in the life. I had such a uncompassionate mentors and masters for me. I am really happy. No, they will go on. You see, as far as the techniques and the spiritual knowledge, they are so compassionate. But they will never ever give me any support for my human weakness. You may be laughing, what? Swamiji had human weakness. When I use this word, I wanted to define it very clearly. It's like, oh, tomorrow we can do the practice. It's okay, these are all, tomorrow we can do. Later on, no, I don't want to do meditation. This laziness, they never supported. And whenever the ideological difference problems, they never bent. They just stood strong. So their compassion, one side compassion, other side completely cruel. Completely, that is the right word, cruel. But I am fortunate, I was not supported. I had such a beautiful mentors. Again and again and again, standing up has become very easy. They will go on giving spiritual words, spiritual techniques. And I can tell you, it will be always good if you have 2-3 mentors in your life. When it comes to mentors, of course, master will be only one naturally. Master can be only one, but mentors, when you are in a spiritual community or satsang center or the spiritual groups, just have 2-3 people to talk to, because you will have 2-3 version of the understanding. It can always be inspiring. Then you will catch that balanced perspective. Objectively you will catch it. Because I had 2-3 mentors, I can tell you how much it added. Even though Kupamal is a great Vedanti, she had a very powerful connection to the Bhakti dimension. And same way, Raghupati Yogi, even though he was a great yogi, he was an amazing Bhakta. He was an amazing devotee. So these different people, different juice made me completely juicy. So you also try to have 2-3 mentors. Then you will grasp more. Even in this Vada Pradivada, now I am seeing, every day I am receiving emails, this Vada Pradivada debate is doing a wonderful job, very powerful job. I am seeing really Vyasa and Shankara's blessings are there on you guys. So many emails I am receiving, the deeper clarity, understandings. I can tell you, really, these 21 days, we don't know how we started, why we started. From Shivaratri, How much of good we are doing to the world is secondary. How much of the good we have all done to ourselves, I am surprised. All our centers, devotees, they have become so intense. Today I saw, I don't know the number exactly, the number of people going to practice tomorrow onwards Samyama. I do have, now I am Guru of worthy disciples. Very strong disciples. Actually in the ashram itself, I was shocked. In Biddi ashram, some 60 people want to do this 15-day Samyama. Then I only made a rule, if you are underweight, you cannot do. If you are overweight, you can do. I made a rule. Because health, I have to take care. But I was shocked. So much of a sudden inspiration has happened in our Sangha all over. Everywhere the strong debates are going on, the Facebook left and right. I am enlightened, you are enlightened, everywhere I am just. Now the whole Nityananda Dhyanapidam, I feel like a huge sky with a lot of stars. Enlightened stars running around here and there. Even in your community, have 2-3 mentors. You will see, you will be able to grow easily. You will be able to imbibe this understanding easily. So the thought trend for today's sacred secret: be stable at the space where the achiever and achieved is one and the same. If you are not in that space, just be unstable, that's enough. You feeling unstable is enough to push you into the stable consciousness. Actually, you feeling, you just hate who you are, what you are, is enough. Nothing else is required. That will just push you to the space where you need to completely be fulfilled, where you need to completely be in restful awareness. The problem is you don't completely hate what you are. One part you hate, the other part you hold on. No. These are all good only. These fellows are telling lies. I am not that bad. Be very clear, you are bad. Completely there is nothing to be hold on. Be very clear. Or hold on, you are completely good. That is also okay. If you hold on completely good, then your personality will just, how the salt melts into the ocean. If you make a salt dal and put it in the ocean, how it melts, you will melt down. That is also perfect, no problem. But the problem is, you neither feel you are completely good, nor feel completely bad. You hold on to one part. That is where you are not letting the achiever and achieved to become one. Just the deep dissatisfaction of the source where you feel your individual identity is more than enough to awaken the non-mechanical parts of your brain and make you experience the transcendental awareness. Transcendental consciousness. Transcendental awareness and transcendental consciousness, these are all different words I am using, but I mean one and the same. Source, existence, Brahman, cosmos, original self, all are same thing I am denoting with different words. So through this Taittiriya Upanishad Sutra, Swami Shivananda is trying to establish clearly The individual soul which feels still it need to achieve something cannot be the achieved, the goal. As long as that feeling, I still need to do something, is there in you, you need to do something. You need to get into the space where that very idea, I need to do something, disappears. I am telling you, if you just create wealth, don't grab, create wealth, the moment you reach certain level, you feel completely fulfilled. I think I have enough. I have enough. Nothing more needs to be done. I have enough. April 14th of 2001, April 14th, that was the day few people who lived around me, who gathered around me that time, not lived around me, that's the right word, gathered around me. Even before Ayya and Amma came, 2-3 people gathered around me. They all have requested me to stay in one place, that they want to build a hut for me. I said, I don't know I'll be able to stay in one place. Then they said, at least till you stay, let's make a hut for you. I just laughed and said, all right, make it. That was the day, the first hut they built for me, the banks of Kaveri. They inaugurated. Still we have photographs. I had on Ramakrishna's photo and Sharada Devi, Vivekananda's photo. Somebody gave me one kamandal, one pot. The moment I got that pot, I had the tremendous satisfaction. Wow, all the wealth I required for my life has come. That's all. I tell you, after that I have not acquired anything. The greatest satisfaction that I have what I want means my prarabdha to accumulate wealth has ended when I got that kamandalu, because that was the only thing I require. As I said, I am a washing mania. That keeping myself clean is a very big thing. So I always wanted, after taking bath, when I come out of Kaveri, I want to carry one kamandalu water so that when I reach the place where I used to lie down, I want to wash my feet. See, the feet will be dirty, will become dirty by the time you come out. So the only property I was in need, only thing I needed is, I need one kamandalu to wash my feet after I reach the place where I stay, because I cannot see my room muddy. Of course, the whole room itself is inside burial ground. That is different. And it is a samadhi of one person. That is a funny thing. On one samadhi, on 4 pillars, they put a thatch. And that only I used to sleep. That was my first. The guy is little bulky guy, so they built a bigger samadhi. Very big samadhi. It's a square, 8 feet by 8 feet. And there was a pillar. And on that they put some 4 wooden pieces and put thatch. So from the Kaveri, if I reach that place where I used to lie down, my leg will become muddy, dirty. So after reaching to that place, I want to wash my feet before I put my feet on the place where I lie down. So the moment that kamandalu came, I can say, the whole personality has become completely satisfied. Such a deep satisfaction. I can tell you, when you create wealth, your prarabdha hits a space of that utter satisfaction. After that, wealth was never in my mind. It was always around me, but it was never in my mind. My inner space never had wealth. It was always around me, but never inside me. So as long as you feel you need to achieve something, you need to achieve. The moment you feel the achiever and achieved has disappeared, you have achieved. So the sacred secret in this sutra is, if you are feeling you need to achieve something more, then let the dissatisfaction grow intensely and swallow your whole personality. It is capable of pushing you into existence. It is capable. This is the sacred secret. I want you to do the debate today. How the feeling of not attained can lead to the attainment. What should we do with that feeling of not achieved? When, how the feeling of achiever and achieved becomes one and the same. I am really happy because these great truths are never discussed, especially to the mass like this. I know, I can challenge. Today whole Kasi, whole Varanasi, if you comb, you will not get 1/10 of the disciples, 1/10 of the people sitting and talking all these great Vedantic truths. I don't want Vishwanatha to get angry with me. I offer this as humble respect because Vishwanatha is highly possessive of Varanasi, Kasi. If anybody talks anything about Varanasi, he can't tolerate. Anyhow, what can I do? That's what your disciples are doing. This is what my disciples are doing. Anyhow, but Kashi Pandits are not Vishwanatha's disciples. These guys have moved out of Vishwanatha. You guys are the Vishwanatha's disciple. Even if you comb the whole Varanasi, where Vedanta is supposed to be repeated even by parrots, you will not find 1/10 of the number of the people who are sitting and discussing all these great truths. But go on, drill these great truths into your inner space. Do the debate, end debate. Don't say, oh, this is all not for me, this is too much for my head. No. Catch at least 2-3 people and start. Just because you failed once in the debate, don't think you should not start again. Go on and on and on. So start the end debate today, Vada Pradivada today, on this sacred secret. How the feeling not attained can lead to the experience of attainment. How to deepen it. When you are achieved, attained, how to know it? Means the feeling to attain will disappear. That's it. So, as you are aware, today is the Holi and Manmada Dahana. In all Shiva temples, the Manmada will be burned. It's a symbolic representation that Shiva opening the third eye and burning all the fantasies. Shiva becoming beyond fantasies. It's a philosophical description of Shiva expressing his enlightenment. And Very beautiful description of Krishna initiating all his Gopas and Gopis in the Bhava Samadhi. Today is the day he did Rasa Purnima, where he played with his Gopas and Gopis and gave the experience of Bhava Samadhi to all of them, experiencing oneness with Krishna to all of them. So all the ashramites are waiting for the celebration. We are having now 2 celebrations. In all Vishnu temples they will have the Holi. In all Shiva temples they will have the Manmata Dahana, burning of Manmata. We have both. We have Shiva and Vishnu both here. So naturally we will be having both celebrations. Holi now, and after the Holi the burning of Manmata. Manmata's effigy. Like a collective negativity, fantasies, delusion, that's all. So now we are going to have the celebration. That's the reason I am ending the Brahma Sutras little early. And today we have a great news. Scarborough, Toronto is starting a new center, a new place. The satsang is held in new place today. My blessings to Toronto devotees, Scarborough and Toronto. And my blessings, I am now in you guys, with you guys in that center. This place now will experience intensely my presence. Let all of you experience Kundalini awakening and levitation. Up! Intense experience of my presence will fill that place. I already now sanctified that place. Put the Padakas in that place, you will see Vibhuti coming. From that Padaka, that whole place will vibrate intense, positive, auspicious spiritual energy. So as today is a very auspicious day, Panguni Uttram, very good day for Subramanya. You guys have got a right place and right day. Today is a good day for Subramanya, good day for Vaishnava tradition, and good day for Saiva tradition. All 3 tradition, today is a great day. And my blessings, beautiful temple will happen in Toronto. My blessings to all of you who are sitting with us at this moment. 669 places and 223 cities in 30 countries. Let you all achieve, experience, live, express, radiate and share the eternal bliss. Nityananda. Thank you.